Matt Hardy, presented to you exclusively by Podcast Heat and adfreeshows.com. I, of course, am Jon Alba, joined by the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself. He's giving you a bunch of hand signals already. He is Matt Hardy. You're popping tonight, my friend. What's up?
I'm just trying to get in the character, brother. Trying to get ready for this podcast, you know. Throw up my gang signs, throw my small delete signs. Just get ready, man. I'm excited.
Got to hit the gimmicks all right before you hop on into the action here.
Of course. You got to get in character, man. I'm a method actor.
You certainly are.
I'm a method podcaster.
You are. Yeah, and you're killing it, man. You are killing the podcasting game. I was just talking, in fact, as we record this, I was talking yesterday with some casual wrestling fans who do listen to wrestling podcasts.
All right.
And they were all saying just how natural of a fit this has been for you. So I am thrilled to be on this ride that is the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy with you. And we are extremely happy that you have chosen to ride with us, my friends, extremehardy.com. Matt, before we taped here, you did a little run-in with our top guys over on adfreeshows.com as part of Top Guy Tuesday. You popped them, man. They marked out for you a little bit.
A bunch of good guys, man. You got to take care of your top guys.
That's right.
You know, it's an old motto. You got to take care of your top guys in the company always. So there are top guys in this company in the podcast world, so I got to take care of them.
All those top guys can fly first class any day of the week. They're not being sent back to coach. They're not being put in wrestler's court. None of that. Ain't nobody got time for that. How was Queen Rebecca's birthday?
It was lovely. She was very happy. She said it's the best birthday she's had with our family since she's been in Canada, which was very nice. So myself and Maxwell, we took Thursday after I got home. We went out. We bought her a whole bunch of presents. We tried to I got some cool photos that were really special to her. I got it blown up and framed and whatnot. She's very into sentimental stuff more than anything. So I got some nice stuff for her Gothic nursery, which is Evie's room, to be her room coming up. A lot of cool little things. Then we capped it off with going out to a nice 5-star restaurant where just the food was incredible. It was so good. She seemed to enjoy that a lot too. So we made the day all about her. From beginning to end, there was a nice cake. There was flowers. She had everything she wanted. So she seemed to be very happy about it. And that really made me happy because those days are I feel a lot of pressure on like birthdays and holidays. I do because, you know, especially she's very big into those. Like the way I grew up and just, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a dude, you know, but it's just not as big of a deal to me. Like I'm not worried about gifts or whatever else. I want to have a nice day. Like, you know, I want every day of my life just to be a nice day. And a birthday, it's cool if it's special or whatever, but I don't have these crazy expectations. And not to say that she has crazy expectations, but she really wants it to be like a special day where we honor her. And you can tell that we've been thinking about her. So that's what I went out of my way to do this year. And the kids are really good. There was a note from the kids. There was a card from the kids, a card from me. And it was very cool because both Maxwell and Wolfie could both sign their name now. So that was very impressive. That was so neat to see.
Well, you know what? Rebby is a super mom. She goes super out of her way all the time. Yeah. And she holds down the fort with Senor Benjamin while you're gone. So she definitely deserves a great day. And we all hope that she had a great one. We really appreciated having her on last week on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. I crack up every time I hear her. She is just so funny. The story where we were talking about the Michael Hayes stuff and whose penis? Whose penis?
She's like, hold up. Who are these pronouns? Who are we speaking about? So he had his penis. He said Michael Hayes had Jeff's penis. Did Jeff have Michael Hayes' penis? No, Michael Hayes had his own penis. So
pal.
I actually went into that whole story. Yeah, right. That is a Vince thing too. And I told the whole story again. I said, so what happened is we went to the bathroom, myself, Michael Hayes, and Jeff Hardy. Michael Hayes went in one stall. He said, hey, Matt, come here. Michael Hayes took his penis and he squeezed Michael Hayes' penis as tight as it could possibly be. Michael Hayes' penis got really red and big on top. Jeff Hardy was in the next stall. Eventually, Michael Hayes released, and it was just like he ejaculated urine everywhere. And Jeff shrieks, hey! So I went in deep with all the names with Michael Hayes, Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy, just so she definitely understood the story. I laid it out. I painted her a very clear picture.
Did you ever get a pronouns pal from Vince at any point?
No, I didn't. I really wasn't in a lot of those meetings. Like I know that was like one of his things too. He'd be very specific, say names. Who are we talking about here? You know, so whenever I would pitch ideas to him, I'd always be very specific with the names. But no, a lot of times it's pronoun. Hey, pal, who are these pronouns? A lot of times this would happen in production meetings.
What was a banned word that most people may not know about in WWE during your years there?
Oh my God, they don't know about. I mean, just things that were, you know, not even to say they were banned, but they did not want you to say. The weirdest of all, I thought, was hospital.
Yeah,
local medical facility, which no one
speaks like that. Nobody speaks like that.
No one in existence outside of WWE calls a hospital a medical facility. And I just like, why not a hospital? Like what? I don't get it. You know, like violence was a word they didn't want. I remember one time I said violence in a problem and they said, don't ever say that again. You know, pro wrestling was something that wasn't supposed to be said. So it was very, very weird. And I think a lot of it just came down to like Vince's taste. You know, it was very much the editing of the promos and the usage of the words very much just came down to Vince's particular taste.
When Roman Reigns said hospital on WWE TV recently,
yeah,
my head did a full 360 like around. I was like, what? It's a new era, baby. This change is all abound.
Thank God. Getting back to some normalcy.
It's just speak like a human, right?
Of course. I mean, that's what they stress over and over. You know, like, hey, you know, people don't really talk that way. You should just keep it simple. You know, that's how people talk. Keep it simple. Make it sound like it's conversational or whatever. But like, medical facility? Is that conversational? Is that common speak? I don't think so. It's so weird. That one always just weirded me out.
One of my favorites was when the title was vacated. There must have been some edict to say that the title was in a state of abeyance. And I said to myself, who talks like that? And now I like jokingly say abeyance all the time just because of that.
Right.
But what?
Unbelievable, man.
And then when I heard wrestling used on WWE TV this past week,
right,
I was like, holy shit. Oh my God, we are in a new era, man. Yeah. It is interesting what's going on over there. Obviously, you have your perspective with AEW, and you're all focused on AEW. This past week just announced some new roles for people, which I thought was great. But it is interesting that it seems like with some of these changes that could be happening with Paul Levesque and WWE, it feels to me as the outsider that the territories are becoming healthy and a little more competitive, maybe a bit.
Very, very much. This deal with Triple H taking over WWE is a game changer. I mean, on top of that, it also opens up the door for so many people to go back. There's so many more people that have a better relationship with Triple H than they did Vince. Triple H, I've already spoken to people that are there. Triple H has already been so much more accessible from the people I've talked to there with the current experience. So it's great. It's a very good thing. And I also think it's going to make the competition of the industry healthier as well, because now it's like, you know, once again, I'm team AEW. Whatever team I'm playing for, I am waving that flag to my dying day. But it is a good thing because there are people that could potentially leave AEW that might end up going to WWE, and they would be more apt to doing that because Triple H is in charge. So I think that's a positive thing.
And it's not even just that, but it's also people that, even if they're not in AEW, so like Karrion Kross, perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Gets cut. He doesn't go to AEW. He's just working the indies. He's doing that stuff. And now all of a sudden Triple H takes over. Now he can go back there.
That's so, Dakota Kai too, right?
Dakota Kai. Perfect example. So Dexter Lumis.
Yes.
So, and because listen, AEW's got a bloated roster, and I don't mean that in a negative way. AEW's just got a lot of talent. So
it's got a big roster. I mean, and that was by design, you know, to have plenty of people that you could cycle off each week. Dynamite looks different, and also we're building a Ring of Honor roster as well. So that's definitely intentional, but it is a positive thing. And another huge positive to Triple H running WWE now is like Vince. It is what it is, but his views and his mindset about pro wrestling were a little bit antiquated, and that's no slant on him or, me not trash talking him. It's just because he's an older guy. I mean, as we get older, it is definitely much harder to keep up with what is new and what is trendy and like have your finger on the pulse of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And Triple H is much more tuned in to 2022 pro wrestling, much like Tony Khan is. So I think now you have two guys who really have their fingers on the pulse of pro wrestling. So I think that's going to benefit everyone.
Wrestlers who love pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to admit that they love pro wrestling.
Yes.
That's a good thing for everybody. And again, when I say AEW's got a bloated roster, I don't mean that in a negative context. I mean that in that there are so many quality talent on your roster that you're not going to have room for everybody on every single week of television.
Right.
So therefore, that leaves some talent who may have gone released from WWE with nowhere to go, or at least not at that level. So, yeah, man, I just think that it is a really good thing for everybody that this move happened. It will make AEW TV better. It will make WWE TV better. That's great for us consumers. That is a good thing all around. We'll see AEW matches with Christian Cage and Matt Hardy with a fan ringside that says, I played this match in No Mercy.
We've been fighting for a quarter of a century, Jon Alba.
You have. It's true. Did that sign pop you when you saw it?
I mean, I didn't see it until when I went back and watched the match. I read about it online. And it's so funny. There were some people who just said, oh, my God. Like, one of my favorite tweets was someone who tweeted, said, for the second year in a row, Matt Hardy and Christian proved all the haters and trolls wrong once again, or whatever. But the thing about it, I was super happy with the match. I thought it was the story that needed to be told. I thought the fight was really good. And some people were like, why are Matt Hardy and Christian on TV in 2022? It's because we're big fucking stars. And we're household names who people know. That's why we're on TV. And eyes come onto the TV to see guys that they know, guys who've been on WWE or TV for 25 years. And then hopefully they see new guys, they see the private parties and they see the Orange Cassidys and they see all the new up and coming AEW talent. I mean, that's kind of our gig. That's why we're here, and the greatest thing about Tony Khan, I think Triple H is going to also follow this direction as well. He's just treats veterans / legends like in a very appropriate way. He puts them in situations to win, and he doesn't put them in situations that make them look bad. He keeps them credible on their level. And I was super happy with the match, and I was very happy Tony Khan gave me the opportunity. And also I thought it fit well into my story of me, paying my penance and trying to atone for everything I've done wrong in the past.
They tune in to see Christian Cage and Matt Hardy, and then guess what? At the end of the segment, you're seeing Jungle Boy come in there, and that's what it's all about, right? So
sure, yeah.
Older generation, new guy comes in. It's so fluid, and it's not a hard thing to understand. And if you don't understand it, well, maybe you should just fucking let it play out, which you can get on a t-shirt at boxofgimmicks.com. You can get the Let It Play Out t-shirt. You can get Spoken Matt Hardy. You can get the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy shirt and Matt Fact or Matt Fiction, boxofgimmicks.com. Just search the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Just saying. I like the man. It was a good match. And the Quick Lake, we'll see the Young Bucks, the Hung Bucks perhaps back together. That's always intriguing. So
who do you have as the first trio champions of AEW? You have any guesses, any speculation?
My gut says that it will be the Young Bucks and either Hangman Page or a returning Kenny Omega. That is what my gut says. And there is a great story to be told with either of those combinations.
Sure.
Between those two entities, Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, or the Undisputed Elite, and see what can come from them. So, it's a lot of good stuff going on there, bro.
Did you happen to catch Being the Elite this week?
I did. I saw Private Party. It looked like they were buttering up to you a little bit, and they were trying to schmooze with you just a tiny bit, and you said no, thank you.
Yeah, it was very interesting that they came. They kind of came to like jab me a little bit, that I went through the table and got beat in that match against Christian. But then on top of that, they kind of like tried to, they tried to come in and butter me up a little bit, like as you said it, and also just they showed that they cared about me.
Yeah, that was
which was very strange. And that's why I was saying, like, guys, look, I've done you wrong in the past. Just stay away from me. I have a feeling just from my interaction, there's a part of Private Party they want to get back with me, but I don't want to go that route right now because
so you wouldn't entertain a trios entry with them?
I'm not saying I wouldn't entertain it, but as of right now, I don't want to go down that path.
Okay, all right.
But I feel like that is kind of what they're gunning for at the end of the day.
You guys have trios experience together.
We do. And we do. I mean, it's one of those things. I think they were kind of longing to once again reestablish a relationship with me because we did. We had a lot of great times while we were together. No doubt about it. Between traveling and just the work we did together, even though on screen I was obviously taking a wee fee and using those guys, but we did share a lot of great times and we became pretty close during that time. And I could almost see they were like longing to try and reconnect those
get the band back together.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see you guys compete together and do things the right way.
Well, if it does happen again, it will happen the right way.
Yeah,
because that is where I'm at in my life right now. That is where I'm at in my life and my career.
I think the Private Party wants to be the next Hardy Boys. They've pretty much said as much. They grew up watching the Hardy Boys, and they want to be the next Hardy Boys. So I think that's a natural pairing. I told you this, man, in the past. I think there are 3 trios I could see you doing. I could see you doing with Private Party. I could see you doing with Top Flight. I think you and Top Flight would be a lot of fun seeing that together. And you, Darby, and Sting, I think would be a fun trio too.
Yeah, me, Darby, and Sting would be super interesting.
So that would be a lot of fun. So I guess we'll see how that plays out, if you will. And Matt Hardy, that was a pretty crazy week of pro wrestling ballyhoo that was going on. But we turn our attention this week to a pretty cool topic. We, of course, are doing the Mount Rushmores of Matt Hardy. We will be talking about a variety of different types of Mount Rushmores. In the past, on our Ask Matt Anythings episodes, you've been asked about your tag team Mount Rushmore. Well, now in this long-form episode, you're going to get a chance to take a deep dive and explain why these teams, why these people are on your personal Mount Rushmores. And I love my favorite episodes of this are when you enlighten. So I hope that you will live to enlighten people on this episode and give a fresh perspective on why some of these people may sit on your respective Mount Rushmores. Some may be underrated names. Some may be expectations. So I'm excited to get into it here. All right.
I gotta ask you this, John, before we go any further. Sure. Have you actually been to Mount Rushmore?
I have not been to Mount Rushmore. Have you?
I have, yeah.
What do you think of it?
I dig it. I think it's very cool. It's pretty amazing that that was able to be created, especially so far back in the past. It's quite a sight to behold.
I'm really bad with that stuff. Like, I'll never forget, I was on tour with my band. We went through Canada for the first time. We get to Niagara Falls.
You get better with age, trust me.
I would hope that I do.
You will.
But I get over to Niagara Falls. I take a look at the water. Let's say, that is some pretty running water right there. And then I turned to my friend. I said, okay, where to next? Because I was like, all right, that's running water. That's all I got. I don't understand how people can stare at running water for a couple hours, but I guess they can. Each their own.
A couple hours seems a little extreme.
People do it. People do it. They sit there and they stare at the water. That's just beyond me. Send me over in the barrel. Let me see how I do there, you know?
You got to take it in and experience. I think all these things, it's just all about the experience there. Take a couple pictures and try and document your time while you were there. But it is important to see stuff while you're out and about because you never know. You may never be back there again.
Did you know that WWE used to have a tourist store at Niagara Falls?
100%, yeah.
You did know this?
Yes.
And it had an attraction. And to this date is the only WWE ride in history.
Yeah, I did know that existed.
It's extreme.
WWE Niagara Falls, yeah.
Extreme, if you will.
Which side of the of Niagara Falls were you on? Were you on the Canadian side?
I went to both sides. I was on both sides.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen both too.
Yes. I have not seen as many national monuments as you have, but I can tell you this: WWF New York was where I bought my first piece of wrestling merchandise, which just happened to be a neon green and purple Hardy Boys T-shirt. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
My first piece of wrestling merch I ever owned. So.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Dastardly WWE New York. Everybody hated getting booked on that.
$24 burgers that were all well done. The talent would have to go do those pop-ups and appearances.
Yeah.
But it was an easy place to get merchandise. So I took advantage of that when I went. So
WWE New York. That seems like an eternity ago.
That was like the biggest money loser in company history. They were losing like $5 million a month on that thing. It was insanity.
More than the XFL?
Well, that would keep in mind, Matt, the XFL was a separate entity.
More than the WBF? More than ICO Pro?
ICO Pro and that might have been, but those were separate entities. Those were not.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, none of your money went to the XFL, Matt Hardy. Don't forget that, okay?
I don't buy that for 1 single second. I want my piece. I own like 0.007 of the XFL. I paid that much. I paid that much invested in.
Who was your favorite XFL player? He hate me or
of course he hate me.
Okay, he hate me. That's what I thought. All right, Mount Rushmores, man. This is gonna be a fun one. You know that before we start our conversation, we always got to get that Matt fact. So hit us with it.
Matt fact. Matt is very fond of Mount Rushmore.
Who's your favorite president on Mount Rushmore?
It's just got to be George Washington because our instances, are so closely related.
Very true.
I had him. He lived for the longest time at the Hardy Compound Zoo. And poor George Washington, his essence moved on from that particular giraffe he was in. So he's no longer with us now. I am trying to reconnect with his essence. Who knows? Who knows where it is now?
You and Teddy Roosevelt have a little in common. You kind of live by the ideology of speak softly and carry a big stick. That's the Matt Hardy. So Mount Rushmore, this is a wrestling conversation that is thrown around between a bunch of buddies when they're talking. You always hear it in traditional sports. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? Who's on blah, blah, blah. So given your perspective on the industry, I figured it would be cool if we talked about a bunch of different Mount Rushmores and see who fit on each one for you. And the first one that I believe we start with, as you sip from your assortment of beverages, would be Tag Team Mount Rushmore. Now, I asked you about it before on Ask Matt Anything. I know you don't remember the answers that you gave them, which is good because I want a fresh thought and a fresh perspective here.
Yes.
So let's start. Who is on your Tag Team Mount Rushmore at this moment in time?
At this moment in time.
Because that will change over the years, I'd imagine.
It absolutely will. At this moment in time, the first team that comes to mind, which was a great team, did amazing things for the business, but that was literally what they did. They were like a career team. And you know exactly what I'm going to say. That is the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. I mean, they have to go on first and foremost, I think. People are typically going to look at them as like probably the greatest tag team ever because that was just their gig. And they were extremely successful. It would be really, really interesting if you had the Legion of Doom in today's climate because the Legion of Doom, they would literally go to the ring and they would kill guys on TV in 50 seconds, 60 seconds, come in, beat up, doomsday device. That was it. And they had some matches that were okay, that were good, but like now there is such a high demand for quality work rate in a match. It's just real interesting if the Legion of Doom in their prime were thrust into the pro wrestling scene in 2022. Are they the same? Do they get the same reaction? Do people view them the same? Do people say, get these two muscled up goofs off my screen? I want to see guys go out and I want to see someone put on a 5-star match, a 6-star match. You know what I mean? That's what's super interesting about the Legion of Doom. And I feel like that's something you have to always remember when talking about that. But for the time whenever they wrestled and they performed, they were unbelievable. They drew money. They were incredibly over. They sold a ton of merchandise.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that, John?
That's one of your 4. I agree entirely with what you just posed.
Yeah.
Being that if they did not come in at the exact time that they did in the exact place that they did, I'm not sure the Legion of Doom are who they ultimately become legacy-wise. Because I think about, say, around 2005, 2006 in WWE.
Yeah.
When you get a bunch of those weird, irrelevant tag teams that came through that were kind of built in the same vein of the Road Warriors. And you know, I'm talking about like the Dicks and like stuff like that. And obviously the gimmicks are not comparable in any sense of the imagination. But Heidenreich, like those types that come through that are clearly built in the mold of the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. I just don't know if that works. But then every now and then you do get a lightning in a bottle where you get a guy like, say, Ryback, okay, who, say what you want about Ryback, but when he came in, he was hot. People were into Ryback when he came in. And that's kind of that same Legion of Doom, Road Warriors type of performer, if you will. Not to say that
a little bit too. And I think Ryback was a lot more athletic than Hawk and Allen too, you know, in the big scheme of things.
I agree. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like the same like box. They're in that same thing. So maybe a little not quite as multi-dimensional as some of the other great tag teams.
Right.
But boy, howdy, in an era where crowds ate that shit up of these muscle meat heads looking like badasses coming to the ring, it was perfect. So I do not fault anyone for having them on their Mount Rushmore. They are not personally on mine, and I'll give you mine after I hear all of yours. But that's one of your four. So who's number two?
I would say number two is the Rock and Roll Express.
Okay.
On mine. And I think more than anything, I think they are one of the first teams that were established as like babyface heartthrobs. They have incredible longevity. They won tag titles in many different promotions. And I think that's a big deal too. I think that's very important that you haven't just been like champion in one place and been protected in one company. I think you need to be able to venture out and go to other places and be successful there as well. So the Rock and Roll Express is definitely on that list for me when I think about it, because they are the kind of the catalyst which set up the Rockers into the Hardys, into the Young Bucks. You know, they were the guy who kind of like started that. They were the original mold of like the babyface high-flying heartthrob tag team.
Sure.
How you feel about those guys?
I mean, they're absolutely on mine, 100%. And I think that, like you said, everyone that has come after that in some capacity has taken from the Rock and Roll Express. Also adding to the legend that they're still out there today doing it. And Ricky specifically is still crushing it and having fun matches doing Canadian Destroyers, because you know what Ricky Morton could have done, Matt Hardy, that he didn't do? Ricky Morton could have said, fuck all this new age tag team wrestling. I'm going to do what I did in the 80s. I'm going to do what I did in the early 90s, and everyone's going to have to work to what I can do. But instead, he said, no, this is where wrestling's going. This is what wrestling can be, and I'm going to try and adapt to it.
And he's embraced it, which is great. It's amazing. I love Ricky. He's so great. He's so open-minded. He's definitely evolved, and he's very open to try new things, and he sees how the business has changed, and he's willing to change with it, which is a very important part of surviving in this industry.
Yeah, and he reserved the right to say, I don't need to embrace this. I've earned my legacy, and it's going to sit with how it is. But he wasn't that way. So that was cool. Okay, so that's two of your first two there. You got two more on your Mount Rushmore.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and knock this one out and piss people off right from the jump. And obviously I'm going to be biased on this. I am going to put the Hardys on this list. And the reason being is because we've had pretty incredible longevity. We've been trailblazers. We've been groundbreakers. And not only were we super successful in WWE, but we also found success in TNA, Impact, ROH. And I still think before it's all said and done, we're going to find great success in AEW, especially once Jeff gets to where he needs to be when he gets his head right. So our longevity of doing this for 25 years is such a high level, especially Jeff, because he does so many insane things, and still his work rate is still so high, especially with the risk he takes and the chances he takes and the things he's been able to put his body through. But definitely trailblazers who have had success across many different promotions over many different decades. So I'm sure that'll piss a lot of people off, but I'm going to put that on there. And I thought about this in great depth today as I was going through things.
Yeah, you might be surprised to hear the Hardy Boys are on my Mount Rushmore too. But listen, biased, sure. You can. I'll take the tweets. I don't care. You can call me biased, whatever you want to say.
Call me biased too.
Call Matt Hardy biased too. Sure.
Give me the heat. I want the heat.
Listen, it's a miracle that you guys have been able to stamp your legacy, given that you've been in wheelchairs since you were 23. So
yeah, you're right.
I can't believe that you've wrestled through that. That's truly impeccable, and that alone puts you on Mount Rushmore even further. But
indeed,
listen, there is. You can say what you want as a fan and say, well, I love the Attitude Era. I love the Monday Night Wars. I loved all this. And it was the hottest time in wrestling history. There's never been a hotter time with more eyes on the product.
Yeah.
When people think of that era, they love the Dudley Boys for the tables. They love Edge and Christian for their personalities. But the one that every single casual person out there knows are the Hardy Boys, because they were the ones doing the crazy shit off the ladders.
Right.
Every 7-year-old kid that grew up in my generation was jumping off banisters onto couches, doing swanton bombs and leg drops. I'm guilty of it myself. That's just when you have that sort of legacy where people emulate what you're doing.
Yeah.
Great athletes do that. When they see Derek Jeter step to the plate and a little kid wears number 2 at their Little League game because they saw Derek Jeter do that. And when they try to do the flip throw, because Derek Jeter did it, the leaping flip throw.
Right.
That's a Mount Rushmore athlete. And the Hardy Boys, in my opinion, because of the amount of influence they had on little kids and teenagers and young adults who are so fond to that era that they associate it with ladders and ladder matches. And you guys popularized the ladder match.
Yes.
That in itself, man, plus the reinvention, which is the whole precipice of this podcast. Reinvention is everything. So,
and I feel like the way we dressed whenever we joined with Michael Hayes was
icons.
It was a catalyst for people wearing different things in the industry too, because we were kind of the first people that like wore something that was so drastically different like that at this point.
It was counterculture.
Where it got over and it was successful.
It was counterculture. It was pro wrestling counterculture. So that's what ECW was, right? ECW was counterculture. So the closest thing that WWE had to that was you guys and Team Extreme. So
people, so many of my friends had told me, said, holy fuck, Matt, I hated the indies because now after you guys started wearing these kickwear pants and these T. Riley shirts, like every jabroni in the world, regardless of how their build was, even if they didn't go to the gym, they didn't work out, they would dress with these kickwear pants and they'd wear these tight T. Riley shirts. And all of a sudden now they're the Hardy Boys. They're wrestlers. Everybody was wearing that on the indie scene, especially on the East Coast. It was so popular. It was insane how many people sent me tapes or like resumes or photos of them wrestling wearing Hardy Boy-esque type clothes. It's insane.
Well, Matt, I watch the indies very closely, and I'm able to watch the indies very closely because I've got IWTV. IWTV.live is independent wrestling's premier streaming service for live events and video on demand of past events. For just $10 a month, IWTV.live offers 20 plus events streamed live. 10, just $10 a month.
Just 10.
Offers 20 plus events streamed live each month from top independent wrestling promotions such as ICW No Holds Barred, West Coast Pro, and of course my home promotion, Limitless Wrestling, which by the way, August 27th will be streaming live. I will be there. I'm going to send you the link for that, Matt Hardy. So
please do, yes.
I will be managing in a very, very prestigious triple threat match there. But IWTV.live subscribers get immediate access to the extensive library of over 13,000 hours of video on demand content from more than 300 independent wrestling promotions from around the world, including Beyond Wrestling, Prestige Wrestling, Absolute, Intense Wrestling, and H2O. And the extensive library features wrestling superstars such as, tell me if you've heard of these people, Matt. Ready? Orange Cassidy. You familiar?
Yes.
Jonathan Gresham.
Yes.
Masha Slamovich.
C.
Wheeler Yuta.
C.
Eddie Kingston. Daniel Garcia.
Yes.
Many more. You can watch IWTV.live anytime, anywhere. It's available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV Stick, including mobile apps for Apple and Android devices. There are no long-term contracts required, and you can just go to IWTV.live, subscribe today for just $10 a month. Man, how great would a service like this have been?
Oh, my God.
As you were coming up? throughout.
I mean, if IWTV would have been around when we were doing Omega, it would have been a game changer because it was so hard for us, especially in the South, to get eyes on our product. You know, it was hard to get it out there, and we ended up doing it through tape traders more than any other way. But that would have been great to have Omega on IWTV. I would have loved that.
Omega would have fit perfectly on IWTV. So
100%.
Go check that out, guys. I've been a subscriber to IWTV for about 2 years now. It is a fantastic service.
It is.
If you want to see me get my ass kicked, there are no shortage of videos of that.
And I'll be watching on August 27th when you're on, John.
Fantastic. I appreciate that, Matt Hardy. Thank you. And we thank them for sponsoring the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. So we've got the Rock and Roll Express, the Road Warriors, the Hardy Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the last team on Mount Rushmore?
All right. Now, I got to tell you, I put a lot of thought into this one. There were a lot of teams that popped in my head for consideration because there are so many great tag teams in pro wrestling history. You know, and I was thinking through it. Some of the ones that really stood out is who could earn a spot here were Tully and Arn, which would be a great team. The Steiners, which were so great. And you even have to look at like newer teams like the Usos, who are doing a lot of great things right now.
The New Day.
New Day. All these people qualified. But then I went and I thought about it, and I thought about longevity, and I thought about who was decorated across many different promotions over many different decades. And the team that I went with is the Dudleys.
Okay.
So that is who I'm going with. You know,
why the Dudleys?
Once again, over the course of a couple decades, these guys were WWE Tag Team Champions. They were the ECW World Tag Team Champions. They were the New Japan Tag Champions.
They are the most decorated tag team champions in wrestling history.
They are the most decorated tag team champions in history. You know, and obviously, just thinking about it, I was like, where did these teams stand? It's like the Usos have done a lot of great things, but they've only been around 10 years or so, right? 9-10 years. You know, you had the Dudleys who literally had, you know, like almost 30-year runs, you know. And they just won so many different tag team titles in so many different places and achieved so much success everywhere else. Edge and Christian, great tag team, won the tag team titles so many times, but all of that happened just in WWE. I think there's a big thing to that too. I love the fact that Tully and Arn, I remember being so excited when Tully and Arn showed up as the Brainbusters on WWE television, because I thought they were so great as the Four Horsemen. Obviously, I was a big fan of Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and those guys as well. I thought they were great with tag team wrestling. And I thought that was cool when they came to WWE because I love seeing teams that were great teams be able to transcend, you know, and become tag team champions in another promotion. So ultimately, I end up saying the Road Warriors, the Rock and Roll Express, the Hardys, and the Dudleys. That is my Mount Rushmore of tag team wrestling.
I don't think that anyone can fault you for that list because, again, it is subjective, right?
Sure.
Like it's all entirely subjective, but you bring a fair argument. Plus, I would argue the 3D might be the most over tag team move of all time. I think you can make it. Look, the Usos are doing the 3D now. So what does that tell you? I'd say that or the Doomsday.
It's the 1D, right? One and done.
Yes. I think that and probably the Doomsday Device are the two most over tag team maneuvers of all time. Mm-hmm. By the way, real quick, before I finish giving my Mount Rushmore, I showed you a watch along, or I showed you a video that you had never seen before. Yeah. Did you watch the video or no?
I watched the first couple minutes of it, and then something had came in on my phone, so I will go back and watch it tonight.
So it was an indie match that you guys did while you were in WWE Developmental.
Yeah.
And you and Jeff used a tag team finisher that I'd never seen before. It was like a stalling suplex, and then you drop them face first. I had never seen you guys do that before. And you won the match with that.
We did that a lot.
But you never won a match. My point is, you never won a match. I've never seen you win a match with that.
That was the finish of the match you sent me.
That was the finish of the match.
Gotcha.
Yes. I've seen you do the move. I've never seen you win a match with that move.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That was different. That took me by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, literally we would go and we would work out for 10 days or whatever it was in the dojo training. And then at the very end of those training sessions, we would go do 3 or 4 independent shows, you know, so that was one of those. And those are rare. I've seen a couple of those, but I had never seen that one.
Yeah.
Here's a real funny story that I think you'll appreciate. I don't think I've ever shared this before. So, and once in a while I would joke about this with Christian. So we had found out we were all going to TV, myself, my brother, and Christian Cage, we all went to TVs at the same time. We started on the same day, which was I want to say the pay-per-view. We were on that Sunday Night Heat before. Maybe Breakdown was the name of the pay-per-view.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, in '98. And it was in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
I'll do a little quick search here.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Breakdown is what my gut tells me. But we were doing the dojo shows right before this, right? So we had dojo shows on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we were going to leave or drive maybe after that night, whatever the situation was. We were going to get to the venue, go to Toronto, drive to Hamilton, whatever it was.
Yep.
And on one of the final shows we were doing, it was myself and Jeff wrestling Christian and Andrew Martin, which was Test. If you guys don't know his shoot name, it was Test, Andrew Martin. And I remember we were talking about the match, and we were so excited because we just got the call that like the next day we're traveling, we're going to this pay-per-view, and we're starting TV, and we're all super excited. And we're putting together the match, and Jeff said, well, you know, if we do the thing where you guys end up getting powdered out of the ring, if Matt pulls out and does the big crossbody on both of you guys, I'll hop over the top rope. I'll jump to the top rope. I'll do a springboard moonsault onto both of you. And then I remember Christian goes, I don't know, Jeff. You know, we're starting TV. Like, I don't want you to get hurt. I'm afraid you might get hurt. Jeff said, oh, no, man, it's cool. I'm fine. I won't get hurt. He said, well, Jeff, I'm worried I might get hurt because we're starting TV. So can we not do that? What a great story. And that's very, very Jay.
That was Breakdown, by the way. You're right. And it was right after your birthday, September 27th.
Correct. Yes. I was in the dojo during my birthday.
There you go. Was that the one where the YouTube video on your
Yeah.
You guys went out for some hibachi.
We did. We went out for some hibachi, and I want to say I was wearing a vest without a shirt underneath, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That was my look for a bit there.
That was and I think you insinuated it was one of the first times you really had sushi. So
yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So that's interesting. It was delightful. So, okay. So you're Mount Rushmore, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, the Rock and Roll Express, and the Road Warriors. I like it. That's quality Mount Rushmore. I got the Hardy Boys. I got the Rock and Roll Express. I got two more here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No doubter for me. You know my taste in wrestling. This shouldn't surprise you very much. The Brainbusters, Arn and Tully. Yeah. I think Arn and Tully, when I do match study, because I do match study every single week for myself, I will go back and I will watch a match from a time that I was watching, a time that I wasn't watching, and I will just study. And one of my favorite things that I get to do on ad-free shows is I get to do sometimes a monthly watch along with Arn Anderson, where we break down Brainbuster matches. Nothing better, Matt. Yeah. I learn so much. I am educated every single time I watch a Brainbusters match. So when I get a chance to take a look at these, I see how highly influential they were on so many different teams.
Sure.
FTR, obviously.
No, they're the first one. Yeah.
FTR. The New Day especially when the New Day were heels, the New Day took a ton from the Brainbusters.
Right.
And that was something I didn't realize until a little later on. The Usos also took a ton from them. It's so simple, but even Edge and Christian, I would say too, to a degree, as I watch some of their stuff back. Great tag team at distracting the ref. Whenever the ref was pulled, they were the best. No one did it better than them. The little things they would do. If the ref was pulled, where Arn would get someone in an abdominal stretch and then hold on to Tully just to stretch it out just a little bit longer.
Their work will always stand the test of time too. And I think something you're going to see going forward, John, in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the Road Warriors will cycle off this list, especially for newer fans.
I would agree.
I mean, I 100% believe that. I think right now, especially being a child of the 80s, you know, and 90s, and coming up and actually getting to work with the Road Warriors a little bit, you know, you have to give them the utmost respect because they were incredible at what they did. But it is a different time, a different era. And I think you're going to, you know, once again, see them cycle out 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. And I think like Arn and Tully will cycle back in because I would have them on mine. Yeah. If I could put like a list of great tag teams, they would be one of the first on our list.
And my last team I'll probably get a bunch of shit for this, but I don't really care. It's the Young Bucks.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and this is a generational thing, maybe, but
the Young Bucks are going to continue to cycle. I also thought about them. I mean, there's a lot of consideration for them. I mean, they've already done so much, and on top of that, they are hugely influential because they are one of the cornerstones of AEW.
They changed wrestling. That's why they're out there. Yeah. It's not just that they're a great wrestling tag team, which they are a great wrestling tag team, but they changed professional wrestling.
Sure. And they're going to cycle into those Mount Rushmores in the years to come as well.
The BTE changed the way that fans consume wrestling. It led to the creation of AEW, which that itself will be their crowning achievement no matter what they accomplish for the rest of their careers.
Yeah,
you know, you could say Kenny Omega, you could say Cody Rhodes. Those things are very important, but the Young Bucks are the pillar of AEW. Without the Young Bucks, AEW simply does not exist. So they changed the way that fans are invited into the party in professional wrestling. So, yeah, and I think that they belong in my top 4 greatest of all time. And I want to say this too. FTR is like right there. FTR, I think 1 or 2 more years, I think everyone will be saying, man, these guys are legit goats. They are just the intricacy of storytelling for both of those teams, the Young Bucks and FTR.
Sure.
And they're
totally agree. Totally agree.
They're like bizarro teams for each other too, right? They're so different, but so similar. That's why I love them.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely there's a contrast of like Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Yeah. You know, both great at what they do, but just have totally different styles. They kind of have different personas, and they see the businesses. They see the business through different lenses, but they're both great.
Yeah. So that's my tag team Mount Rushmore. You like that? You think that's a fair list?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great.
Okay. Tag teams out of the way. Here's another good one. I got a chance to do this one with Diamond Dallas Page and Jake the Snake, and I thought that they had some really great input. Mount Rushmore of promos. Greatest promo guys or gals of all time. You got 4 to pick.
Very good. Okay, promos.
And I'm not talking individual promos. I'm talking overall.
Yeah.
Talkers.
Yeah,
I could do a Mount Rushmore of wrestling promos too.
Sure. You're talking about their entire body of work.
Their body of work. Who are the 4 greatest promos?
I would say Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper
is someone I would put there. Just a great promo and just so in tune with his character and what he was doing as Hot Rod. The Rock. I would definitely have The Rock on there just because he was so unique and he was so cutting edge and different during the Attitude Era. And it was just, he changed what a wrestling promo was, and he made it so super entertaining, but he was just so well-spoken, so articulate. And obviously that is translated into him being one of the biggest movie stars in the industry right now. Someone who didn't get the credit till a little later on, but eventually got it. Mick Foley. I think Mick Foley is.
Oh, dude, I'm so glad you said that. He's not on mine, but I am so glad you said that.
I mean, Mick Foley, I remember watching him on ECW when I was just breaking into the business, right? And we were doing indies, but I would be absolutely captivated by his promos, especially the stuff when he was doing stuff with Raven and Dreamer and whatnot. They were just so great, especially because you could tell Paul Heyman was being Paul Heyman, and he was turning on the camera and say, this is kind of what I think we talk about. Go. And he just let him be him. And he was incredible. And I think that the depth of promos he could do, considering he was like this masochist character in so many ways, he was just incredible.
And he could change his promos based on which character he was.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
Which is a huge testament. A Dude Love promo is very different from a Mankind promo, which is very different from a Cactus Jack promo. One of my all-time favorite Mick Foley promos is when he was getting ready to face Triple H in the street fight at Royal Rumble 2000.
Yes.
That we covered here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy archives. Go check that out, extremehardy.com. And he says he's supposed to be Mankind, and he says Mankind isn't tough enough to face Triple H. But I found a suitable replacement. And he starts walking to the ring, and he's taking all the Mankind garb off, slowly revealing the Cactus Jack stuff.
Right.
Holy shit, dude. Chills.
Yeah.
So good.
Great stuff. And
so that's your 3. Who's your 4th?
And I'm going to say for my 4th, we go with someone who's still kicking it. I'm going to say Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho, okay.
Which I'm a big fan of just all his changes, from the man of 1,004 holds and the stuff he did in WCW, even back to the Lionheart stuff in ECW, and then he came to WWE and he just reinvented himself over and over and over again, and he continues to. And like every time he reinvents himself, you can tell like there's the personality and the specific promo that goes with each reinvention, which I think is a very powerful tool to have.
More than fair. Okay.
And then there's other guys too. Like Flair is a guy who would be right there too, who definitely sticks out back in my mind. Also, Stone Cold stands out in my mind as being a guy. Just, once again, they were more, I feel like a lot of theirs, because Rick was always the nature boy. He didn't change over and over like Chris did, but he was just so good and so believable in everything he said. And Stone Cold had like a lot of catchphrases that he would hit that were just so hot, and people just wanted to hear them and do sing along with Stone Cold. But still, like the stories he would tell from his promos were always great, always so good.
Okay, so that's fair. There's one glaring omission on your list that I'm actually really surprised was not on your list. So I'm going to give mine. Okay,
yep.
Here we go. So Roddy Piper, as far as I'm concerned, wrote the book on the just depth and versatility of getting heat on a microphone.
Right.
No one did it better. It's so cool seeing MJF promos because you get the clear shades of Roddy.
Sure, yeah.
And MJF's not on my list, but give him a few more years, he very well could be.
Sure, yeah.
And because he is a gifted son of a gun when it comes to his promos. So that's one for me. Mm-hmm. The Rock is number 2. That should be of no surprise to you. I think The Rock, I don't think anyone in the history of professional wrestling commanded an audience like The Rock did.
Agreed.
I think his presence with his promos, The Rock could hold the microphone right here, not say anything, and the crowd is ready to lose its shit.
Yeah, the crowd's coming.
So that
he's a master. He is a master.
It was unrivaled in that regard. Number 3. This is there's 2 that you didn't say. I'm actually surprised you didn't even make your honorable mentions. Number 3 for me, Jake the Snake Roberts.
I thought about Jake.
I think Jake, you talk about character study and intensity and psychology. One of the great WrestleManias of your youth, WrestleMania at the Sky Dome, WrestleMania 6. Ted DiBiase. This is a rarity where Jake is the babyface here.
Right.
He's cutting down Ted for stealing from people. And he says, I'm going to make you beg, DiBiase. You're going to get down on your hands and knees. This time, you'll be the one that's humbled. This time, you'll be the one that's humiliated. This time, you'll be the one that grovels for the money. And how appropriate that the money that you grovel for is your very own, a victim of your own greed, wallowing in the muck of avarice. I've got that promo memorized, man. The muck of avarice. My hairs, they stand up when I hear that, man.
Right.
Just incredible. And then number 4, Dusty Rhodes, man. The Dream.
Dusty was, I didn't mention him then, but when I thought about this a little earlier, he definitely stands out too.
I mean, he gave the promo classes at the Performance Center during his time there. Because he was the guy. Is Hard Times the greatest pro wrestling promo ever?
It's up there. I don't know. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, I think it's up there. I mean, I want to run through a wall when I hear Hard Times.
Sure.
And still, to this day, a computer took your job, daddy. It's so good. But yeah, those are my 4. I love Mick. I love all those. Austin is certainly in that discussion. Do you think The Miz deserves some love here? The Miz is good, and he definitely he's putting in time too now. So I mean, he's been around since 2006,
or so. So he's pushing on, he's 16 years deep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's saying something. I mean, he's definitely, he's getting there.
CM Punk.
He's a great speaker. Yeah, I thought of Punk as well. Punk's another guy that was good. Actually, Michael Hayes also went through my mind too. Some of his stuff that he did in Texas with the Freebirds was incredible.
I like the Flair inclusion. I think Flair's a good inclusion. Arn Anderson's a great promo.
Arn's a great promo. And it's almost a shame that he didn't get to speak as much as he did, because Flair was always like the head of the Horsemen. So Flair was the one that primarily did the speaking, but Arn is a great speaker.
When he got that Glock promo that everyone was blowing up about last year, holy shit, man. That was an all-time great one. So, okay. I like your list there. Like I said, I definitely am including Dusty, and I'm including Jake the Snake on mine. So
those two guys definitely, those two guys went through my mind when I was trying to put together this list earlier.
Let's go with the top heels of all time. The top 4 Mount Rushmore of heels.
Okay.
Who are you going with?
I am going to go with I'm going to go with Roddy Piper.
Okay.
Roddy Piper, especially when WWE first got hot during the whole rock and wrestling era. I feel like Roddy Piper was the heel that was the driving force. People were tuning in, and they would pay to see Roddy Piper get his ass kicked because he was that great of a heel. So he's been a great heel, and he was over many, many years. So he stands out. Ric Flair, once again, much like I said before, even when he was talking about this last match, he said, "Oh my God, I got to be a heel because I'm such a shitty babyface." That was an actual conversation him and I was having. And Ric Flair stands out as one of the great all-time heels. Triple H, I will give the man with 3 H's. I think he has done some amazing work as a heel, and I think he is much, much better as a heel than a babyface. That is where he deserves to be. And then last on that list, just because it is really what kicked the business in the next gear, I feel, in the Attitude Era, Vince McMahon. Yeah. And it's hard not to look at Vince McMahon and just think he's a heel, whether you're talking about his character or his real life as of right now. So that would be my list.
Yeah.
Piper, Ric Flair, Triple H, and VKM.
You're insane if you don't think Vincent Kennedy McMahon's not on the short list of greatest heels in wrestling history. It's as simple as that. And he didn't even want to be a character on TV. I think deep down he did, but he didn't want to.
Yeah, once he started doing it, he really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think deep down he was wanting to be professional because he is like a business guy through and through. You can even tell that from how he runs his company, where, people aren't necessarily human beings. They're just cogs in the machine. You can tell that from these, mass releases that have happened over the last few years or whatever. But I think deep down he wanted to just be a promoter. He wanted to be professional, and talent don't belong in the office. They don't belong in these meetings that make creative decisions. But once he started doing it, he absolutely loved it. And that he took great pride in being a great heel.
Yeah. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Roddy Piper.
Mm-hmm.
There's one I really struggle with because people will look at him just as much as one of the greatest baby faces of all time, which we're going to get to in a second. But Hollywood Hogan has to be in that conversation because without Hollywood Hogan and the iconic heel turn, I don't know. That's a really tough one for me. That's a really tough one. Because, I think, I'm Roddy Piper, Vince McMahon, Ric Flair. I'm going with Ric Flair too. And this last one's hard, man. This is tough because Triple H really was such a great heel.
Yeah,
he really was such a great heel.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's going to be a lot of people that will roll their eyes when they hear that. Ugh. Reign of Terror. He really was so great.
Absolutely.
But people wanted to see Hollywood Hogan get his comeuppance.
Yeah, and it is one of those things too. I mean, he was a trailblazer at that time because when he became Hollywood Hogan, I feel like that was the blueprint for how fans would be in the future, especially once someone is pushed so much they get sick of them. And then eventually,
that's it. Hogan gets residual heat, right? Exactly.
I mean, and that's why, because he was getting pushed so strongly.
Yeah.
But then you have that with John Cena, and they never fully pulled the trigger on him. He made his jokes about having his heel turn as he would flip his foot back and forth. Yeah. But then, like the thing with Roman, people, they weren't going to turn forever. Then eventually they turned him heel and paired him up with Paul Heyman. It was the best thing that happened to their industry in forever. I mean, they should have done that with John. And all it ends up doing is if you have a babyface who people are getting sick of, that feel like they're being pushed too much, you turn them heel, and then a year down the road, they're just going to be a much bigger babyface.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the business works.
It's very true. Well, Matt Hardy, when you're a heel, you're not feeling great about yourself. Things maybe aren't always going your way. But if you want to become a big-time babyface in the territory, you just take that one scoop of AG1 every single day, and right away you're a babyface because you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. It's lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep quality and recovery. It supports mental clarity and alertness. And you know this. You've been traveling on the years, Matt. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin. It's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body actually absorbs, and this is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. And as you know, it is all in one, isn't it?
Yes. I do it first thing in the morning, and it starts my day off right every single day. And I think maybe on BTE, before any more of the HFO guys try and herd me or beat me up, maybe I just need to take AG1s, and then maybe I'll turn to a babyface. And they won't have this vendetta against me any longer. I'll be smiling. I'll be ready to kiss babies. AG1, it turns around your day.
Rumor has it, Broken Matt travels from essence to essence when he has his AG1.
Oh, that's the best way. That's the only way for your essence to travel.
It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself, and it is an all-in-one nutritional insurance. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D. And how many free travel packs with your first purchase, Matt Hardy?
You get 5.
All you have to do is athleticgreens.com/Hardy. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Hardy to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Yeah, okay. I personally take it. I promise. You try AG1s, you are going to love it.
I love that endorsement from you right there, Matt Hardy. Let's keep going here. Let's talk about baby faces.
Okay.
Your top 4 baby faces.
All right. Top 4 baby faces. All right. First person that comes to mind as a top baby face on my Mount Rushmore would be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No doubt about it.
DTA, don't ever trust nobody. Definitely stands out. I mean, he was a game changer when he got white hot during the Attitude Era. Number 2, I'll have to go with Hulk Hogan. We talked about his heel turn, but I mean, Hulk Hogan as the face of the company in the 80s is what drove WWE to become, a nationwide and then soon a global company and franchise. It was built around Hulk Hogan. Sting is someone who's had incredible longevity.
I was wondering if Sting was going to make yours.
I'm going to throw Sting in there. Sting has had longevity now, Jesus Christ, for 5 decades.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. 5 decades. And, the majority of his time, he's been a babyface, pretty much a career babyface. He's had a couple of, teases with being a bad guy, being a villain, but he's pretty much a career babyface. So Sting's still killing it in this day and age and still as beloved as ever. So he definitely goes on my Mount Rushmore. And the 4th guy that I'm going to put on there. This might take you by surprise, but I'm going to go way back for this one, just because he was over for so long and he drew money for so long.
I know who you're going to say. Go ahead.
Bruno San Martino.
Absolutely, he has to be. I think people would be, and maybe there's modern day wrestling fans that aren't as familiar with Bruno's run on top.
Yeah,
but he has to be, in my opinion. There's no way that he can't be on a list of top baby faces. This guy was WWF champion for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
10 years. It was a different time in the business, but like, I mean, people were shelling out money to buy tickets to see Bruno San Martino.
Nobody has headlined Madison Square Garden, including musical acts and everything, more than Bruno San Martino. Right. Insanity. Maybe Billy Joel.
What a statement. What a statement.
Yeah. I think it's a great list. Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bruno San Martino.
It's the first time we've shared 3 different answers in our Mount Rushmore.
I am torn between 2 here. I am torn between The Rock, and Dusty Rhodes. Because Dusty Rhodes is the epitome of a babyface, right?
Sure. Those guys both went through my mind when I started contemplating this question.
Man, that is tough. If I were to pose that to you, Dusty Rhodes or The Rock, who are you picking there?
I would go with Dusty. Between those two, just because I mean Rock was great as both a heel and a babyface, but I feel like Dusty, pretty much a career babyface. I mean, and at the end of the day, he was the working man's wrestler, and people could really relate to Dusty Rhodes, and I think that makes him a marvelous babyface.
And The Rock wasn't even the #1 babyface in the territory.
Yeah, right.
Which is just batshit crazy to even imagine that The Rock was not even the top babyface. He was still #2.
Right.
Behind Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I'm going to get a little more micro with you here real quick. Top babyface all time. Is it Hogan or is it Austin? Because Hogan had the longevity.
Yeah.
But Austin had the biggest audience, the most merch, and the highest gates.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, and personally, I like Steve so much too. I would probably say Steve, but it's really hard to compete with the longevity that Hogan had on top too, which is quite a statement. I almost feel inclined to say Hogan just because he had so much longer of a run.
And the kid influence too on him, the Hulkamaniacs running around. Yeah. All that. That's interesting that Macho Man hasn't found his way on any of your lists here so far.
Yeah, he was. I considered him for both top babyface and top heel. You know, and I feel like he went back and forth more than most did, where he kind of played on both sides of the fence. You know, but like, I love the fact Ric Flair said one time. He said, "Yeah, he was talking about Ricky Steamboat, who's actually another great career babyface, right?" But I remember Ric Flair was talking about Ricky Steamboat, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, who's the greatest performer?" Blah blah blah. So many people compare you and Ricky Steamboat. He said, "Well, Ricky Steamboat's really good." He said, "You know, but I'm great as a heel and a babyface. I can do both sides. Ricky can't do that." I remember Rick said that, kind of like rubbing it in a little bit and like a little bit of a shot at you. But there is something to that. It is really important to be a master of this craft, to be able to do both sides of the fence. You know, to do as a heel and a babyface.
Absolutely, man. Okay, I want to put you on your toes a little bit here. I want to throw some at you that you haven't had a chance to think about because I want your instinct here.
Okay.
Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling commentators.
Okay, there you go. That's a good one. Jim Ross.
Voice of Wrestling has to be up there.
Yeah. Gordon Soley.
Gordon Soley, I agree. And it can be color guys too. I'm fine with you putting color commentators too. Doesn't just
Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Bobby the Brain Heenan. Is it Gorilla? Is it Joey Styles? Who else is making your list here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a.
Is it Jonathan Coachman?
Yeah.
I hear you were a big Mike Adamle guy.
Oh yeah, he loves Jeff Harvey.
He loves Jeff Harvey.
He's a big Jeff Harvey fan.
Yes.
Bless his heart. Mike Adamle was so,
and he's had a rough go. I feel bad.
I know, but he was so sweet too. Whenever he was there, he's always so nice and so kind.
Yeah.
Gosh, maybe so. Maybe Gorilla. Maybe Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
Maybe Gorilla. That's a good one too. JR first and foremost. Gordon Soley. Those two immediately jump out to me. And then I'm going to say Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Okay.
How about you? Who you got there?
JR, Gordon Soley, Bobby the Brain Heenan. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to sound heinous to some people. I don't really care. His run was not long enough on commentary, but I believe he is genuinely in the conversation for greatest color commentator ever. And that's Paul Heyman. I think few people understood the assignment as much as Paul Heyman did as a color commentator. And I would argue, in my opinion, again, this is going to be heinous to a ton of people, but I think nuts and bolts wise, the greatest combo ever on a booth is Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. And I know that will be asinine to people.
They were great together.
They were amazing together.
Paul Heyman is so talented. You know, on so many different levels. You know, I'm a big fan of Paul Heyman. You know, I can tell from the interaction I had with him early on, like I see how he can motivate those ECW guys to do what they would do. He's a great motivational speaker. He knows how to motivate talent to go out and just kick ass and beat themselves up, do whatever. He knows what to say. He knows the right buttons to push. Also, with that being said, he knows whenever he's doing a promo, also when it comes to great promos too, he also stands out as a great promo.
Absolutely.
But like Paul Heyman knows what buttons to push. And if he's being a commentator, he knows how to play that. If he's doing a promo as a heel, he knows how to play it. If he's an advocate, he knows how to play it. He's just so good at everything. Yes.
I think that he knew how to push JR's buttons in a genuine way that would get a reaction out of JR. And I mean, you know, Red Ass JR when you hear it, and he would get him, and it was perfect. And he had a great way to justify the actions of heels.
Right.
That's what a great heel color commentator is supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't think he was too obnoxious. He never detracted from the matches I was watching. I love that color commentary and play-by-play combo that was them. And I know people will say that's heinous, that I'd say that's my number one. People will say, what about Jerry Lawler? People will say all these things. And listen, in Lawler's prime, he was outstanding.
Yeah, Jerry's great too, yeah.
What do you think about Vince McMahon, the announcer? Oh, Matt Hardy.
It was just so weird. Like, I feel like Vince as the announcer, it was just almost like, you know how Vince like mandates, okay, there's these specific words that I won't say on the show. And he just, his lexicon and verbiage is so weird. Yeah. And I feel like that came across when he would do commentary.
Yes.
Just a lot of the things he would say were just like, huh?
It was like, we got to hit everything. The Rocket, Owen Hart. It's the Rocket. The Rocket. The Rocket. And
it almost like detracts from his genius, you know, the things that he does so well. Like, I would have never guessed when I would hear his commentary, like, this is the guy that runs the show, you know, right when I first started watching WWE and became a big fan. I was like, this is the guy calling the shots? What?
And look, Shivani belongs on that list too. You know, I mean, he's Tony's an all-time great too in his own right. There's nothing as wholesome in wrestling as Tony Schiavone yelling, "It's Sting." That is the most wholesome moment in professional wrestling every week on TV. So, all right, I got a few more for you here before we wrap things up. I'm going to throw one more unpredictable one at you. Okay. And it's why I didn't include him in the best promo, and that is the best managers of all time.
Best managers of all time.
Okay. So I think we can both agree Paul Heyman's probably on that list.
Yeah. Paul Heyman, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Let me think. There's a lot of people to choose from here.
Is your boy James on that list? James E. Cornette?
Yeah, he kind of has to be.
Right?
Yeah. I'd say Jim Cornette, and then I would say J.J. Dillon, just because of the horse.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. Paul Heyman. Bobby the Brain Heenan. I've learned so much from Jim Cornette, the manager, just watching him. That punchable face factor, right? Exemplified that.
Sure.
Broken
Matt punched Jim Cornette in the face.
That must have felt good.
Yeah.
Man, he's up there. JJ Dillon, that's a tough one to argue, but who
else you got? Harvey Wippleman?
No, Harvey's not on my list. Mr. Fuji.
Harvey Wippleman when he managed Elegante.
Yes.
Giant Gonzalez.
Mr. Fuji's up there.
Mr. Fuji?
Paul Bearer, man. I think it's Paul Bearer. Just the oh yeah.
Oh my God, too awesome.
Come on, man. Paul Bearer's got to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Was Paul Bearer a fun guy to be around?
Yeah.
Michael P.S. Hey.
Yeah, he was a big he was a big river man. He came from that era with Michael Hayes and those guys, so you had to watch your shit around Paul Bearer.
Do you have a good Paul Bearer rib story?
Not specifically that I don't have, but I know that there would be a lot of times when young guys would come in, and if they did something disrespectful, whatever, Paul Bearer would lay it on them pretty hard.
Get him back. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Best technical wrestler of all time. This is a highly debated one all the time. The best technical wrestler of all time.
The best technical wrestler of
And then
all
I got two more after this, and we'll wrap it up.
It's interesting that's something that has changed a lot.
Fans love to debate this
as time has been ticking. I'm going to say Brian Danielson.
Okay. Got to be Brett, right? Brett's got to be up there. Or is he not on yours? Ooh, okay. This is interesting.
I mean, Brett, but I feel like Brett wasn't as strong as a technical wrestler. I feel like he was just a solid fundamental wrestler in everything he did. I feel like when we talk about technical wrestler, you're looking like a lot of intricate holds and different things. You know what I mean?
I love your definition of it. That's cool.
I mean, that's what I feel like the technical wrestling is that I'm addressing right here. I would say Bryan Danielson, Dean Malenko.
Okay. I love this insight. This is good.
Yeah. Really tricky answer, especially back in the day. I mean, William Regal is a guy who is very solid as a technical wrestler who knows like a lot of shit, you know, and can like tie you up and definitely in knots. And who would I say as a fourth?
Would you dare put Chris Benoit on there?
I mean, he fits into it. Once again, I feel like my definition, he is a lot more of like a fundamentally sound wrestler, like almost like Brett was. Okay. Is he technically solid? Hell yeah, of course. Both of those guys are. But I feel like when you talk about like technical wrestling, you're looking for guys who do like little small intricacies and you know and do unique things. So Regal, Bryan Danielson, Dean Malenko. And who else can I really put into this? I mean, there's a lot of guys that do it currently now.
Lance Storm was always a great one. I know he's not someone that people would think about on a Mount Rushmore. Lance Storm was a great one that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily put on a Mount Rushmore, but he's all-time great technician in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm trying to even think of someone. Eddie Guerrero was really good too. Like he could really wrestle, and he knew a lot. I mean, he would fly, but he could also do a lot of those like really intricate combinations and technical wrestling moves.
Shane Helms is too old to be on that list, so he's not on there.
Yeah, he's too old.
No.
Yeah, he's outdated.
Yep.
He's expired. He's reached his expiration date. He can't make this list.
Life was in black and white when Shane Helms wrestled.
Oh, for sure. And it's also before they had the wheel too. been a minute since he's been around. It's before the wheel came out.
I believe he wrestled Luthez' dad.
I think so. I think it's grandpapa.
One more.
I feel like there's got to be somebody out there that that should be a really easy go-to. Go ahead, hit yours. Let me hear yours.
Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Unquestionably Bryan Danielson. I mean, the Wrestling Observer named the greatest technical wrestler award after Bryan Danielson. So that speaks for itself. Right. God, I love your pick of Dean Malenko. That is a really good one. I just don't know if he's on mine, but that is a really good one. I'm putting Bret Hart on there. I think Bret Hart, I would consider him a technician, but that's just my definition of it. Regal. Have I ever told you the wrist lock story with Regal?
I don't think so.
A WWE talent told me this. They're no longer in WWE. They were in NXT when Regal was there. And they went up to him and they asked him one day, they said, I'm having a hard time with this variation of a wrist lock. Can you show me how the proper technique is?
Right.
And what was supposed to be a quick 15-second, hey, here's how you do it, turned into a 45-minute explanation on the history of that particular wrist lock. And the guy ended up missing a mandatory health screening because of it. So I think that probably qualifies William Regal for best technical wrestler. If he can give you a 45-minute lecture on the history of one particular wrist lock. My fourth, it's tough, man. Like, if I want to get creative and pick like a modern one, I could throw like a Claudio in there. I think Claudio's one.
Yeah, I kind of thought about him too. He came to my mind.
Claudio, Jonathan Gresham's amazing. But again, that's legacy thing. Not quite there yet for those guys. I'm telling you, one guy we're going to talk about in that one day is going to be Daniel Garcia. And you're going to hear people talking about him because
I believe that.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I like your Dean Malenko pick. I think I'm going to go with that. Dean Malenko, the Iceman.
Very good.
I'm going to go with that. Who do you got?
Then I'm just going to add for. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to join Bret in there, even though I feel like he's more of like a fundamental. I mean, he can't wrestle. He was obviously trained in the dungeon, and
some would say Owen was more technical than him.
Yeah, I mean, probably so. They were both extremely talented. I definitely think the biggest difference between Owen and Bret is that Owen was like a high flyer. Like Bret was much more grounded. He was like very fundamentally sound. All his shit looks real.
Dynamite
Kid, really good and solid. Yeah, Dynamite Kid. Dynamite Kid was good as well. Yeah.
So there's just a lot. So I like that one. All right, two more. Ready?
Yep.
The best in WWE right now. WWE's Mount Rushmore. The current Mount Rushmore.
Okay, that's a good one.
What I thought was really cool is that none of these have Shawn Michaels in them, because Shawn Michaels is on every list all the time, and we haven't brought up Shawn Michaels' name once on this.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
He gets enough flowers.
Roman Reigns, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, he's holding it down. Love what he's doing now. Randy Orton. I'm going to go with Randy. He's been there now 20 years, right?
Yep.
He just celebrated his 20-year anniversary of being a WWE superstar. I think you got to go with Brock Lesnar. I mean, he makes enough appearances where he's around, and just with his longevity and what he's done, he's such a freaky athlete.
One more,
and let me go with my old friend / rival, Rey Mysterio. I love that he's still kicking, still kicking ass nowadays.
He had a great match this past week with Finn Balor. It was very good. I'm going to go with Roman Reigns.
Okay.
Charlotte Flair. Who I think is just one of the biggest superstars in wrestling, period.
Yep.
Whether people love to hate her or not. And there are people who love to hate her.
Charlotte did pop in my head when I was thinking about it, as far as like standouts in WWE.
I just think it's so cool that we live in an era now where we can put women on the Mount Rushmore in WWE, because that certainly was a time where that wasn't the case.
Sure, right.
So I'd put Charlotte Flair. If you include John Cena, he's there, but since he's not a guy that's like currently there, I'm not putting John Cena there. So
right.
I would put Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Who I just think is consistently one of the best all-around performers in wrestling.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And then I think Becky Lynch.
Okay. It's a good
I
day.
really think Becky Lynch has reached that. She's kind of universally beloved. People connect with her. She has a great match every time she's out there. I don't know how closely you've paid attention to her stuff with Bianca Belair, but she made Bianca Belair into a big-time star. And Bianca Belair is going to be a flag bearer for years to come because of Becky Lynch. And not taking away from Bianca's talent. Bianca's incredible, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think Becky Lynch belongs on that list. So
that's a solid list.
Yeah. And then let's wrap things up here. The current AEW Mount Rushmore. We hear the ill-fated conversations about the pillars, but I want to hear the Mount Rushmore.
Right. Okay. The first person that stands out, which I feel like is kind of like the heart and soul of AEW in many ways, is Kenny Omega.
Okay.
I'm also going to go with Jon Moxley. He was there 100%. Early on, right from the jump, and he has been carrying the load, especially since Punk has been out and hurt. You got to go with Chris Jericho. How can you not say Chris Jericho is not part of the Mount Rushmore? And for my final,
I'll let you include teams too if you would like to include that as one.
I am already Young Bucks. Yeah,
that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, Kenny, Young Bucks, Moxley, and Jericho.
I think I'm in agreement with you on that one. The only one I might contest, even though we just talked about before how they're so instrumental to AEW, I could make the argument to switch out the Young Bucks for Hangman Page. Because the Hangman Page story was the greatest story told in AEW to date.
Right.
And they were a big part of that. But Hangman had to be the right guy to make that happen.
Yeah. And Hangman too is also the future of AEW. You know, I mean, he obviously had this great story. He became champion, but this is just the beginning of his journey in the big scheme of things.
I think I'm so glad you said Jon Moxley. I think Jon Moxley is the wrestler of the year for 2022, by the way. I genuinely believe that he is. So big ups to Jon Moxley. Big fan here and love what he's doing. So yeah, I think that's mine. And we'd love to hear yours, guys. Send them to us at Matt Hardy Pod, at Matt Hardy Brand, at Jon Alba. We would love to hear what you guys have to say in terms of your Mount Rushmores. I feel like we were pretty in step with one another there, Matt. I feel like
we're pretty close. Yeah.
I love this conversation because it is so fun to get the perspective from different people on how they consume and enjoy wrestling.
Right.
Because none of us mentioned Goldberg. But guess what? I'm sure there's wrestling fans out there saying, man, I watch wrestling because of Goldberg. There would be modern wrestling fans who would say, how is Bray Wyatt not on your all-time great promos list?
Right.
That's what I love about pro wrestling, Matt, because I feel like it shows that wrestling can be anything.
Of course, yeah. It is so subjective. I mean, everything is so subjective in the world now, more than ever before, you know, so especially pro wrestling.
So we very much appreciate you guys checking out this week's edition of The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Next week, it's one of your favorites, Matt. Ask Matt Anything V3. V3, yeah.
Yeah.
Fans can ask Matt Hardy whatever you want. All you got to do is just send them to us at Matt Hardy Pod, at Matt Hardy Brand, and at Jon Alba. Hashtag Ask Matt.
Hashtag Ask Matt. You got to have that on there. Don't forget the hashtag Ask Matt.
Those are some of your favorite episodes. I know you love Ask Matt.
I love interacting with fans and just answering their questions and really getting to go into depth and detail with my answers. I love doing that so much.
And then the week after that is one of the ones that everyone's been waiting for, TLC 1. We have built our way from 99 through 2000 right up here to TLC 1. That is coming to you in 2 weeks here on The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh, my.
That's going to be a big one, Matt. I cannot wait for that. And as always, if you would like to support The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, what can you help us do, Matt?
you can go to all of our platforms and listen to our podcast. And then once you love it, I'm pretty confident you're going to love it. Give us a 5 star review. And, write that little review, screenshot it, post it to either Matt Hardy Pod, at Matt Hardy Pod on Instagram or Twitter, or Matt Hardy Brand, my IG or Twitter, or John's, which is at Jon Alba. Post that screenshot, and we're going to be giving away stuff. We constantly give away stuff.
We love
giving away stuff.
We whore ourselves out to give stuff, like this great review from Rod Elson this past Friday. It says, great podcast, 5 stars. I've been a Hardy fan since the days of the plaid tights. It's great to hear all these stories and facts that weren't available other than from the mouth of the man himself, Matt Hardy. Jon is a great host, and he and Matt make a good team as they go through the memories. Jon lends an interesting take as he remembers things as a fan. Great podcast, and keep up the great work. Thank you, Rod, for that.
Thank you, Rod. What a great review. That's what we want. So you guys leave us your review. Be very honest, be genuine about what you think, but please leave us that review. We read every single one of them, and they mean so much to us. And those 5-star reviews go a long way in helping the success of the podcast.
That they certainly do, because like I said, we will whore ourselves out. We are not above doing that, so trust me, guys, we will do it. Oh, Matt, I wish you nothing but the best this week. This is my favorite time of the weekend to chat with you. I appreciate you. All of our viewers and listeners appreciate you as well. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, this was a fun chat. I had no idea how long this was going to take or how it was going to go, but I really enjoyed it. So thank you for this.
I love talking wrestling, conversation, friend. This is just like sitting in a bar and just shooting the shit. So that's what it's about. The words have been spoken. This has been the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. We'll see you all next week.